Hi there, welcome to Megan Makes Cupcakes. Today I'll be teaching you how to make these adorable Candyland theme lollipop cupcakes for any candy enthusiast that you know in your life. So follow along with me and I'll show you how to make them step by step. Okay, so the things you'll need for these Candyland lollipop cupcakes are some cupcakes, as many as you'd like to use. I have some pink fondant, purple fondant, white fondant, some lollipop sticks, some spice gumdrops, some frosting any color you'd like, and then this is just an example of how the finished lollipop will look. Okay, so let's get started. These are the colors that I chose, but you can feel free to do any colors that you'd like. So we're just gonna roll our fondant into a ball to start with, and then we wanna just elongate it and make it kind of like a little log. Okay, so we want it even, and then we're gonna take either both of these colors or one of these colors, and we're just gonna roll out little mini logs, and we're gonna place them all around this white piece of fondant. So let's do that. Okay, so I rolled some thin purple fondant out, some little snake-like creatures, and now we're going to cut it to the length of the fondant here. And then depending on how sticky your fondant is, you can either just like put it on top and it will stick, or you might need to actually add a little bit of water to it so that it sticks to the fondant. But mine's actually really sticky. I'm using the it's the Duff fondant if you get it at the craft store, and it's pretty sticky. It has kind of more like a higher fat content, so it tastes really good. And so that will be really good for our pops that probably children will be eating. We're just gonna make sure that we do this all the way around the log. And when I'm done doing that, I'll be back to show you what it looks like. Okay, so I'm back, and you can see I've placed these thin little ropes all around my fat white piece of fondant. And it doesn't have to look perfect because it's hard to make these thin little strips perfect, but now we're just gonna roll it. And what we're trying to do is just essentially thin it out, and if it's too long, you can always cut it in half. And then just do one at a time. Eventually what we're gonna do when we're done is we're gonna twist it like that. We just wanna make sure it's at the right kind of thickness that we want for our lollipop. So if you're doing a smaller lollipop, you probably wanna do it a little bit thinner, and then if you're doing a fatter and a bigger lollipop, you're gonna wanna make the rope thicker as well. You want it to have that spiral effect. And then once we're done with that, we can trim this long rope into sections to make for a lollipop. So I'm gonna do mine for 7 squares on mine. And then just make sure it's all even. Okay, and then you kind of want to taper the end. You can use that, either pinch it off or use a knife. And then you're just gonna start rolling that. You can just kind of turn the long rope around it, or you can do like I'm doing and turn the middle in towards itself. And this is a little sticky, like I was saying, so I'm going to use a little bit of fondant to make it so it's not as sticky. Excuse me, I'm going to use a little bit of cornstarch. And then we're just going to roll it in. And then if it starts to get untwisted or unspiraled, then you can kind of twist it as you're rolling it to keep that look. And just keep twisting. And then when you get to the end of that, you're just gonna kind of want to gently push it to the side there. And there you can see we created a wonderful spiraled lollipop. All right. You can see the different textures there. The white and the purple swirled beautifully together. And like before, you saw the other one that I made, and you could see how I did a pink, white, and purple, and this one's just purple and white. All right. And so now we're gonna take either the side of a fork or a toothpick, and we're just gonna insert a hole right here. So we're just gonna kind of wanna wiggle some room in here. I'm using this first before I insert the lollipop stick because it's sharp. And just wiggle it around so you're creating some room. And then once you've done that, you can take one of the lollipop sticks and just kind of wiggle it in and just hold with your other hand, push down on the lollipop so it doesn't get out of shape. And there you go. Okay, we're back and we have our pink frosting ready to go with our large circle tip. And our cupcake ready to frost. We've got our lollipops ready to go, and we have our cute little gumdrops here that we're going to be putting on top of the frosting. And you can just kind of dump them out and pick through them to find the ones that look the nicest. And then we're just going to do our swirl frosted cupcake. We're going to start in the middle, press down. All right. Now we're just going to set our frosting aside, and we can decide how we want to do it. I think I'll stick mine in the center here, and then I'm just going to find the gumdrops that I like the most, and I'm just going to secure them on top of the cupcake. Okay, and so for our last touch after gumdrops, we're just gonna put some sprinkles on, of course, can't live without sprinkles, on a cupcake. Kind of fills in the gumdrops and brings the whole cupcake together in a colorful, spectacular kind of way. I love it. All right, there you got your Candyland themed lollipop cupcake with gumdrops and sprinkles. So if there are any candy enthusiasts in your life, you know what cupcake to make for them. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you again next time.